Hi everyone, this is Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity here with your weekly update. It is Friday, April 21st, 2017. Now, you're listening to this because you have the capability to listen to what's actually going on in the world. Most people are still unable to really process what's happening in the world, and I understand why. There's a lot of very confusing, maybe upsetting things, but you and I, we know that ignoring things is just not a possibility at this stage, that we have to confront reality as it is. There are enormous changes coming. And that's why we do what we do at Peak Prosperity, is to help us first understand what's happening, second, do something about it, and then third, most importantly, how are we going to be with that information? So knowing, doing, being, that is our mission at Peak Prosperity. So in light of that, we have a two-parter up this week where I talk about how central banks have been distorting the markets pretty overtly in a lot of cases, but I think also covertly. I build that case. So what? Who cares if you know if central banks are distorting markets? What do you do with that information? Again, that knowledge is not good unless it helps you act or be differently. So in this story, once we know that central banks are manipulating markets, and some of them everybody agrees on because they admit to it, right? We already know they manipulate interest rates because they set them, which means they're manipulating the price of money. And it also means that everything that is priced in money gets a little distorted as a consequence of that. So that's stuff we know about, but there are other things where there's a lot of smoke, and we might say there's possibly fire there. So what you need to understand, though, is that the central banks and the other political authorities of our time are going to continue doing what they do because it's what they know how to do. Because they're going to keep doing what they do, the path that we're on is the one we're going to stay on, and this path ends badly. We have all the data we need. Our good friends, the bumblebees, are disappearing. Ecologically, we're just really beginning to tear things down. We know we can't do that forever. We know we can't do this growth model forever, and yet we keep doing it. We know that markets get into bubble territories and they burst, and the bursting is painful. And we know that only a few people can get out from behind and under a bubble. Everybody else gets caught in it. That's the nature of bubbles. It's axiomatic. You cannot all escape from the bubble territory. So that's what we're facing here today, are a lot of unsustainable trends. And because the central banks are continuing to force us down a path which we already know is broken. It's this simple. You cannot borrow at twice the rate of your income growth forever. It's simple math. It is literally grade school math. And yet we're trying this path, not because we're incapable of understanding that it's a bad model to follow, but because people are people. There's no special wizards or high priestesses at the central banks. They are humans, and they are fallible, and they are full of hubris, and they are scared, just like everybody else. So look, you need to be aware of what's happening. You need to look at the levels of manipulation simply so that you can understand that this cracks up at some point. And to sort of drive this home this past week, we've seen multiple interventions in the markets where they're starting to wobble and fall off, and all of a sudden, with 45-degree precision, they go exactly the other direction. And you see them coming at key moments, like when it was announced that North Korea said that they might go nuclear if they continue to get provoked. That's not normally a stock-friendly moment, right? That creates something called uncertainty and the possibility for extraordinary damage to the world economic system. And yet we see this exact 45-degree march of the stock markets upwards. Those are sort of some of the pieces of information that tell us that what should be happening, which is proper signaling and information, is not actually what is happening. The what is happening tells me that the authorities are worried, they're scared, they don't know what to do, but you already know that. You already know that because you feel it, because your friends feel it, because people are talking about it. It's very easy to bump into people who are saying, I'm going to decamp to New Hampshire and get a farm out in the mountains, right? People are feeling that sort of level of agitation, and they're correct, maybe not in their response to it, but they're correct in noting that things are really off the rails. So that's what we're doing at Peak Prosperity, is helping you understand how we're off the rails so that you can both do different things and begin to be a different person, stepping into what actually when you get all the way through it, is the most exciting time to be alive in all of human history. And so we're going to share that together and figure out how we're going to be the ones navigating this successfully. And I can't wait to join you on that project and have you join me on that project, because it's phenomenal and it's exciting. So with that, thank you very much for listening. I'll see you next week.